Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode corporate filings so you don't have to. Today we're diving into Galiano Gold's Form 40F, their annual report. Don't worry, it's not as boring as it sounds. We're going to uncover the real story behind the numbers, like whether they're actually turning that ore into gold or just digging a very expensive hole. Let's get started. This is Galiano Gold's annual report filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC. Think of the SEC as the government's Wall Street watchdog. This Form 40F is basically how foreign companies like Galiano Gold, which is a Canadian company, tell the SEC what's been going on. It covers the year of 2024. First off, as of the end of last year, December 31st, 2024, Galiano Gold had about 257 million common shares outstanding. This number is important because it's used to calculate things like earnings per share, which is a key measure of how profitable the company is for each share of stock. It's important to know that a lot of what Galiano Gold says in this report is forward-looking, which means it involves guessing about the future. They make estimates about things like the price of gold, how much gold they'll produce, and how much it will cost them to get that gold out of the ground. These are educated guesses, but they're still just guesses, and things could turn out very differently. Next, we have the boring but important part about disclosure controls and procedures. Basically, this is a statement that the company has systems in place to make sure the financial boss have to sign off on this, saying that they believe the controls are effective. The company's management, the people in charge, says that their internal controls over financial reporting were effective as of the end of last year. Internal control over financial reporting is basically a system to make sure the company's financial statements are accurate and reliable. Think of it as a series of checks and balances to prevent errors or fraud. The audit committee is like a financial bouncer that includes 3 independent directors with financial skills. They're responsible for watching over the company's accounting, financial reporting practices, and audits. It's like having a separate team of financial experts double-checking everything. Now for the meat of the report, let's look at some of the financial numbers from their annual information form. Starting with the balance sheet, a snapshot of what the company owns and owes. Galiano's total assets increased from about $141 million in 2023 to $357 million in 2024. That is a huge jump. This increase is mostly because of the controlling interest in the Accession gold mine. Looking at the other side of the balance sheet, total liabilities also increased, going from about $106 million due to the Accession gold mine acquisition. Liabilities are what the company owes to others, so an increase means they've taken on more debt or have more obligations. Finally, equity, which is the owner's stake in the company, went from about $135 million. This is the difference between what the company owns, the assets, and what it owes, the liabilities. An increase in equity is generally a good sign, as it means the company's net worth has grown. Moving on to the income statement, which shows how much money the company made or lost over the year. Galiano's revenue increased significantly from about $258 million in 2024. That's quite an increase in revenue. The cost of sales also increased from about $226.56 million. Cost of sales includes all the direct expenses of producing the gold, like mining costs and processing. This makes sense as they are mining more after acquiring the other share of Accession. Galiano's profit for the year increased from about $1.3 million to $21 million. That's a huge increase in profit. This is due to higher revenue from increased production and a higher realized gold price. Lastly, let's glance at the cash flow statement, which shows how much cash the company generated or used during the year. Galiano's cash flow from operating activities, that is, from their actual gold mining business, was about $57 million. This is a key number because it shows how much cash the company is generating from its core business. Cash flow used in investing activities, which includes things like buying equipment or acquiring other companies, was about $103 million. This is mainly due to the Accession gold mine acquisition. Cash flow from financing activities, which includes things like borrowing money or issuing stock, was about $68 million. This is mainly from proceeds from the sale of common shares. Overall, Galiano's cash position decreased slightly from about $48 million at the beginning of the year to $42 million at the end of the year. Finally, there are some consents included by various experts that worked on this report. These experts are basically saying they stand behind the information they provided. Now let's step back and take a look at the big picture. Galiano Gold had a pretty good year in 2024. They increased their revenue, profit and assets, mainly thanks to their increased ownership in the Accession gold mine. One thing to keep an eye on is their debt levels. While they increased their assets and equity, they also took on more liabilities. This isn't necessarily bad, but it's something to watch. How effectively they manage that debt will be key to future profitability. Another factor to consider is the price of gold. Galiano's profitability is heavily dependent on gold prices staying high. If gold prices drop, their profits could take a hit. Overall, Galiano Gold seems to be in a decent position right now. They've got a producing mine, they're generating cash flow, and they're making a profit. But they need to manage their debt carefully and keep an eye on gold prices to make sure they stay on track. Thanks for watching this episode of Corporate Decoder. If you found this helpful, give us a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the world of corporate filings.